Yud Chesman base. We are fourth line down. B'leisa Rabbi Lezer. Now here's the Rachas is typo. The Mepharshim will take it out. B'leisa Rabbi Lezer l'chayvo kol achas v'achas. Rabbi Lezer learns that Havara teaches Havara was the fact that the Torah singled out Havara as the malacha which you're chayiv on Shabbos is to take it out and make it a lav. They're not chayiv misa on it. So ask the Gemara, B'leisa Rabbi Lezer chayiv kol achas v'achas. How does Rabbi Lezer know that you're chayiv a korban each and every malacha you transgress on Shabbos? If you can't learn it out from Havara, but if you hold Havara l'chalak yotza like Rabbi Yochanan, so Havara l'chalak yotza means that teaches us in each and every lav you transgress to bring a separate korban. But if you hold Havara, it comes l'lav, it has its own separate prohibition, which is diminished in severity from the other ones. So how do you know that on the other ones you bring a korban for each and every one? So Ashkatani b'shem Rabbi Lozer. So you found the Bryce and name Rabbi Lozer, which we have in the Bavli in Klal Gadol. Probably appear again here again in Klal Gadol. Ashkatani b'shem Rabbi Lozer. Heina l'chayv al. Here it's also a typo. L'chayvo al achas. It should be actually l'chayvo al kol achas. Should be each in you should be chayv. It says we have in the Bavli, achas shu heina shu achas. Heina mi heina me'achas. There's a whole drasha there in Klal Gadol, which means that in each and every one of them you're chayev. This is a separate korban. Okay, nicha havara. Okay, so I understand havara. You're chayev even if it's shalol l'tzorech. According to Ula, you're chayev even if it's shalol l'tzorech. That's the rule. However, what about chabura? What about wounding? We said in Amr Alf it doesn't have to be l'tzorech, right? How could that be? Chabura is a tolada. It's derived. It's derived from the malach of shchita, right? Shochit. So av shalol l'tzorech v'yishalol l'tzorech. The av is not. It has to be l'tzorech. Shchita has to be for a purpose, and a non-beneficial shchita you're potter on, right? So the tolada, even if you're chayvim shalol l'tzorech, how could that be? In other words, if the av is b'tzurich l'gufa, then the tolada also is b'tzurich l'gufa. Oh, we're wondering where you were. It's not your night off tonight. Okay? Book, yeah. Show and tell. No, I'm not selling them. I'm just showing them. So says more. We're on Yud Chesma base, Mr. Zuger.
It's 36. 6 lines.
So that's fine. Top here.
36.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Say Yud Chesma base.
We'll
start again from Chabura, which is the 6th line down, as he said. Chabura ab shalol tzorech. You see that 3 words before the end of the line?
Okay.
We said yesterday that there's a shita of Ula that you're chayiv if you do a Chabura, even if it's a malacha she'ein tzurich l'gufa, if you're not doing it for the purpose of the chabura, you're doing it for some other purpose, right? Not to draw blood, just because you're angry at somebody, whatever the case may be. So says Gemara, I don't understand how that could be. Chabura is a tolada. The av of chabura is what? The av is shchita, to shecht. And on shecht it has to be l'tzorech. V'shalol l'tzorech. How can the chaburi be chayiv even if it's shalol l'tzorech? How could that possibly be? So Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Buna Amar Yispalkun Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Yochanan. It's machlokas Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Yochanan. Chad Amar Shchita Ikar v'Chabura Tolada. One of them holds Shchita as primary and Chabura as a Tolada, and therefore Rabbi Yochanan holds that Chabura also has to be l'tzorech. Just like Shchita, the father, the Av, has to be to l'tzorech, so the Chabura has to be l'tzorech. V'Chorona Rabbi Lezer is machlif. Rabbi Lezer switches around. He says Chabura is the Av. And shchita is the tolada, and that could work. You can have an av if the av is saying you're chayiv on even shalol tzorech. It's still possible that the tolada has to be l'tzorech. In other words, the tolada could be more chomer than the av. It can't be less chomer than the av.
But isn't every av we have l'tzorech to be?
No, mavir is not. According to Mavir, is also not L'tzorech. Okay? So Mavir and Chavora would both be Shalom L'tzorech. Those would be the two exceptions to the rule. Okay? Says the Gemara, Hivir v'kiba bin fichachas. You blew at the fire, and some of it got ignited to a greater extent, some of it got extinguished to some extent. Chayev Stein. You're liable to 2 korbanos. Amar Avdimi Achuid Rabbi Yossi. Avdimi, the brother of Rabbi Yossi, said, Hodamar, this teaches us, Nafach Bekelim B'Shivra, if you exhaled, you blew at vessels, and you break them, Mishai Nezek Shalim, you pay full damages. In other words, it's considered to be a Maisa. That's really what we see from this. From Lashon of Chayev, vis-a-vis Shabbos, we see if you blow at something and you accomplish something, it's considered to be a Maisa. And therefore, if you blow at something, you damage it, you have to pay for it. If your animal blows at something and damages it, you have to pay full Nezek instead of Chatzi Nezek, which you pay for the aberrant damages such as kicking and the goring and so on and so forth.
One is Choshen Mishpat and the other is...
Yeah, but we extrapolate from one to the other. That's right. So we extrapolate from Choshen Mishpat. Right, and that's a very fundamental concept. That if you blow it, which we're learning from here, if you blow, let's say, if you have dirt on your clothes and you blow on it, no good, right? If you want to blow off dirt on Shabbos, you're chayav chatas because of kibbutz, assuming that it's some way which is chayiv, and so on and so forth. Blowing is like a deed.
Don't wear black suits.
Don't wear black suits, right? So says Gemara, except for us sinners. So says Gemara, new case. Somebody who shovels coals. Now here's a critical letter. Mitachas hakadera. Okay, you have. It's not just, sometimes chosa means you're raking the coals to get them to burn better. Here it's different. Here you're removing coals, okay? You're removing coals in a shovel from underneath a pot. So what do we say about this? Chayev. You're chayev. Okay, fine. What are you chayev for? Rabbi Shimon Elazar says, B'Shem Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Tzadok chayev stein. You get two chatos. Why? First of all, the ones you took off, the upper ones, you extinguished, because now you took them away from the fire, the less hot. The other one is that whatever you left there, you're chayev on igniting, because now they're exposed, right? And since they're exposed, so then they burn brighter, right? So you're chayev too, one for extinguishing that which you took away, and one for igniting that which you left there. Okay? Now, let's say somebody shoveled coals off a fire in order to get hot, right? In order to get hot. So you brought them towards you in order to get hot. So, b'Shabbos, potter. It's an amazing concept. If you think about it, it's very logical, but it's still amazing. You shoveled the coals out, and now you're using them to heat yourself. So it's the same activity as before, yet before you're chayiv two. One for making the fire hotter underneath, and for extinguishing the ones you took away. Here you potter altogether. Why? Because why you potter? It's also midrabanan, but why you potter midaraisa? Because you're taking the coals away for the purpose of heating yourself, right? You want the coals to be hotter, right? But they're really getting cooler. Those coals are getting cooler. And vice versa, the coals that you left behind, they're getting hotter, but you have no need for them to get hotter. They're not under your pot, they're not cooking for you, they're not doing anything. So therefore, as far as you're concerned, you don't care that they get hotter. So you don't need neither the coals that you took away to get cooler, nor the coals that are there to remain hotter, right, to be hotter. If anything, the contrary would be true. So therefore, your pots are across the board.
So it's the idea.
That's lumdus. Okay?
The idea of intention. Your intention was not...
Right, your intention was not fulfilled. Neither count.
But we've had that.
Yes, but we never had that graphic example. No, this graphic example, never in the Bavli. Okay.
It's not a psik ratio, the lower neutral.
It's a psik ratio, but it's not going to have it's lo nichole. So it's still potter. That's still potter. This is not a rye. I know we mentioned that according to Yerushalmi it's supposed to be no concept psik ratio, but we haven't come across that yet. Okay.
We're dabbling with it, right?
What?
None of the design.
No, they redesigned it in Israel.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
Yeah. They read the design. I like the design we had better, but they didn't ask me. All right.
The Gemara's
Yeah.
down psi ratio here.
Yeah, it's beginning, but it skirts. It never specifies. I don't know whether we're going to, if and when we're going to see anything. It could be that which the intro books say there's no concept psi ratio in the Yerushalmi, just that we never find it out right. It's not necessarily that the Yerushalmi will disagree conceptually with psi ratio.
What's the secret?
Oh, come on. Where have you been for Masechta Shabbos?
Forget sometimes.
Psi ratio is something which will, by definition, occur as a byproduct of what I'm doing. Cutting of the chicken's head, and it's not
Inevitability of an act.
right.
Or
Okay.
inevitability of a result from an action.
Okay. Now, says the Gemara further. Rabbi Yaakov bar Acha mar b'machlokas. This is a machlokas. Kiman damar eino chay. Kiman damar eino chay velachas. There's one man damar who holds you only chayav one. Well, Kiman. I'm sorry. Kiman damar eino chay velachas. Just a minute, I forgot what this says. Yeah, okay. I have to refer back to the case before in order to explain this. The first case we had was somebody who raked coal, who took coals out from under a pot, and left some coals behind. So we said he's chayiv shtayim, right? It was a machlokas actually. One Madamar said he's chayav. See, I didn't point that out before. When we said that before, so that the Tanakama holds just chayav one. He did one isser. The one isser which he did is that he was extinguishing the coals which he took away. Extinguishing the coals which he took away. I think that's the one isser. Yeah. Okay. Right. I have it written down. Sorry. That's the one issue she does. Shimon Elazar then came and said, the name of Elazar Breb Tzadok, they chayiv two. One for extinguishing the ones you take away, and another for igniting the ones that are there. Now the next case was you took away coals and in order to heat yourself on Shabbos. Now we said you're exempt altogether, right? Because the ones you took away, you want to be hotter, yet they're getting colder. The ones you left behind, you don't care, they're getting hotter, but you don't care, you don't need them to get hotter, right? Now Rabbi Yaakov Racha says on that, Omar b'machlokas, here too it's machlokas. Kamadamar in a chayiv alachas. According to the opinion, you only chayiv where you remove the coals if your intent was to extinguish them. Here your intent is clearly not to extinguish because the coals you're taking away, you want to heat your body. So you want it to burn more. So the fact that they're getting extinguished is Dovashen and Miskavin, right? So therefore you're for sure brought on that, right? But round Kamandamar chayiv shtayim. But what about according to the opinion over there which holds that you're chayiv two? One for the ones you took away that you're extinguishing, and the other for the ones you left behind that they get hotter. So here it's conceivable also you can draw a scenario in which the ones that are left behind you do want to get hotter. And therefore here you're going to be chayiv one carbon. Again, in the case where it depends what I want to happen to the coals I left behind. The ones I took away, obviously I would rather they be hotter because I want to warm myself. And they're for sure getting cooler because they're getting more extinguished by being away from the main body of the fire. So therefore that I'm potter for sure. Potter for sure. Because my intent was to get warmer and here the coals are getting cooler. But in the case of the fire I left behind, right, which is now getting hotter, so there it depends. If you hold that, according to people which hold that before you're chayav for igniting those, so then you're chayav for igniting these as well. If however, according to the opinion before, which we said that you're not chayav for igniting those left behind, so then of course here you're potter altogether. You know, maybe Taka here you see a raya that Yerushalmi doesn't hold psikration of the lo nichole. Now I'm thinking about it. It could be this is a raya that the Yerushalmi who doesn't hold psikration lo nichole. Because here it seems like we don't care if he actually derives a benefit from the coals that are left behind. Right? We say it's a machlokas. Some say we look at, so some say he's chayiv on that. Some say he's not chayiv on that. But it's certainly not l'tzorech, right? The Gemara doesn't say, the Yerushalmi doesn't say, and it depends whether you have a pot on the fire or not, right? Because before it said he had a pot on. If I'm not sure about this, before it said he had a pot on the fire, right? So there was under fire. There you clearly wanted. No, I guess this is the same thing. I take that back. Must be the same. Must be here that also you're removing coals and there's a pot left behind. So the shaila is, do I look at that pot, the coals underneath the fire as being so? It really is a question of how to regard the coals that are left behind. Are they getting hotter as a result of my removing the coals which I took away, or not? And according to the opinion that I do look at them as getting hotter, so too over here, the same idea applies. Yeah.
The fact that you received some momentary benefit from those coals before they cooled off,
doesn't matter. That's just like transporting muktzah. Because since they didn't actually get hotter as you were removing them, so it's just transporting muktzah. So what? But you didn't heat them, you didn't make them hotter, right? So it's not going to be chayv on that, right? Okay. Now the next two lines we're going to skip for now because they really belong. The two of Yerushalmi says they really belong to Yud Soman Aleph, so we're going to leave them for Yud Soman Aleph. Okay. Rabbi Yudan. You have Rabbi Yudan. Yeah, the base Rabbi Yudan Taman Eina Rotza Shivaru. Now, Rabbi Yudan says that here, Taman, of course, in Yerushalmi very often means here, and here by the guy who's getting hot, he doesn't want them. Why should we putter all together? Because he doesn't want them to get hotter. Veina Rotza Shichabu. Nor does he want the coals. Okay, yeah. I was kind of mixed up before. I forgot. The Gemara itself just goes through the logic which I just reconstructed in my head. It was stupid of me. Gemara itself does it here. Rabbi said, right? Oh, why over here, in the case where he's taking the coals in order to get hotter, in order to eat himself, is he potter altogether? Because here he doesn't want neither that the coals that you left behind should get ignited, nor does he want that the coals that you are taking should get extinguished, which is exactly what's happening. But over there, there he wants the coals that are underneath the pot to get hotter, and he doesn't want the coal, and he wants the coals that she's taking away to get extinguished. So there he's chayv on both. So Lamaisa, it's taka. The first case talking about where there is a pot. And the second case is talking about where there is no pot. I was right. In the first case where there's a pot, and I remove coals, so I'm chayiv two. One for the coals I took away, which get extinguished. The other for the coals which are left behind, which get now hotter. In the case where there is no pot, and I take the coals in order to get warmer, so then, in that case, I'm potter altogether. The coals that I take, I'd rather get hotter, are actually getting colder, and the coals that are left behind are getting hotter, but I have no need for that. So therefore, I'm not chayiv on that either, okay? And he says, that's his chiluk, he says, don't say that the chayiv anything, even according to Mandamar holds over there, said he made a mistake. Who was the one who's before? Rabbi Yaakov Baruch, you made a mistake. Rabbi Yaakov Baruch, you thought, according to the opinion that held before, that you're chayiv on the coals that are left behind getting hotter. Here too, it's the same thing. No, you're wrong. Because here we're talking about where there's no pot. And you're not trying, don't want the coals that are left behind to get hotter. They might get hotter, but you have no advantage from that, so therefore you're not chayiv. Okay? Says the Gemara, Hiviru Bishu. That is a very interesting case. So a lot of Achronim speak about this case.
So in the end, though, you're right. You see that Psikresha is still putter. For the coals left
but that, even the Yerushalmi, even the Bavli, it's Psikresha lo nichole. There's no, I mean, it's lo ichpaslei.
Right, okay.
You don't care,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Lo ichpaslei. So Hivir Bisho. This is a case I looked up in the CD-ROM. I looked up also in the Ora Yosher. The Or Sameach brings down this case. The Har Tzvi brings down this case. Very famous case. Hivir Bisho. Now, Hivir did this one ma'aseh, two things. You had a pot on a fire. And there was the same case we had before. You had a pot on a fire, and you blew on it, right, with a bellows, let's say. At the same time, you're stoking the fire, right, and causing the pot to cook. Right. How many melachos, how many chatos do you have to bring?
One.
Boy, you're so pushed, you guys. I can't believe it. There's a Bavli which says if you cut a branch off a tree, so then on Shabbos you're chayiv shtayim. One because of harvesting, and the other because of pruning.
Oh.
So everybody asks, what's the difference? There you're chayiv 2, and here
You're improving the tree by pruning.
oh, so that's what Meir Simcha says. Says there you're doing, although it's the same activity, there are two different ramifications. There are two benefits: one for the tree, and one for the wood, which you have, right? One for tree and one for the wood. Here he says, ultimately everything is conspiring for the same goal, right? You're stoking the fire in order to cook, so therefore we can't distinguish between the two. That's why you're chayav only one. But boy, by them was not so partial like it is by you guys. Okay. Ha'ivir bishal is tani chayiv shtayim. There's some who say you're chayiv 2. These tani chayiv achas, and there's some who say you're chayiv 1. Madam chayiv shtayim. He who says you're chayiv 2. Achas mishum avir v'achas mishum vashel. He looks at both together. Umadam achas. Now, but the question is, he who says you're chayiv achas. Hey dahi. Top of your testimony. Which one are you chayiv on? Rabbi Yehuda mishum avir. Rabbi Yehuda says because of mavir, right? Rabbi Yossi America Mishum Avashel. The Kasha of Rabbi Yossi. We don't like Rabbi Yossi. Why? Havara limdo kol malachas sheba Torah. Havara teaches us that all the malachas of Torah eino chayev. Kasha Rabbi Yossi. Havara limdo kol malachas sheba Torah. Havara is that which teaches us about all the other malachas, right? What do we say about Havara? Havara l'chalik yotzos. Havara is the archetypical malacha, right? The one which teaches us about all other malachas. And here you're going to say, well, you have to pick and choose. Here you're going to forsake the archetypical malacha of mavir in favor of classifying it with the quote-unquote inferior or more generic malacha mevashel. How can you say such a thing? And the Gemara doesn't answer. It sounds like a funny question. I mean, it sounds like an emotional question, not a rational one. The question is how to look at the activity, not how to look at not what the Torah considers to be a more classical malacha. But that's how it comes across here.
Mavashel, that's a Torah of Mavir. It's a
separate avos. Mavashel Mavir, two separate avos. Yeah. Okay. Says the Gemara further. By the way, I really had a shtickle Torah I wanted to say, but I don't know. I don't think it's so. After reflecting on it, I don't like it as much as when I came up with it. There is a machlokas Rambam and Ravid. When you heat up metal when you whether you're chai mishum vashel because of mavir. Rambam holds you chai because of they talk about this when using electric filaments on Shabbos, whether it's mevashel or mavir. Machlokas Rambam and Ravid. So in the Rambam it's mevashel to heat up metal. According to the Rambam it's mavir. So the question is, so I was thinking maybe to learn that this machlokas is talking about where you're mavir and mevashel metal. But it's forget it. Just ignore that. It doesn't work in. Okay. Zor sheshimish b'mikdash b'Shabbos. A zor who's serving the base of mikdash on Shabbos, or a ba'amum. A zor is, of course, Yisrael. A ba'amum, a person who has a blemish. Sheshimish b'tum served the base of mikdash when he was tamei. Rabbi Chia the Great, Amar Shtayim. He's chayev too. Why? He's a zor, and then besides, he did avoid on Shabbos twice. Or he's a ba'amum, and besides that, he was tamei. Bar Kapora Marachas. Bar Kapora says he only chayev one. Now it's interesting. Why does Bar Kapora say only one? So there's several different approaches in the Meforshim here. But I like the two of Yerushalmi who's going to throw in the line which we took out on Yuchas Beis. He says because Ein Yisachal Isser. Right? It's already Shabbos. So there's no point in tacking in a Chiyav of Zorus. Or that's a
strange definition.
That's true. It is a strange definition, but I think it's a fair one. In other words, you want to give him unless the Isser is Isser Koilo, Isser Moisif. But Shabbos, what could be a greater Isser than Shabbos? Right?
Isn't a line of Einam and Hashem, applicable?
That doesn't help by Ein Isser Koilo. No, does not help at all. Idea. The veil on Yom Kippur. Say if you eat you eat a nevel on Yom Kippur, you're chayav Yom Kippur, put her on the veil. It doesn't matter. So he wants to say and it's a chalitzer. There are others who want to say different approaches, but that's how he wants to learn. For instance, another interpretation, I'll just tell you, the Pnei Moshe says that
the Tsar, at the point in which he goes into the Azora, already...
No, Zor's allowed in the Azor. He's not allowed in the Kodesh. He's allowed in the Azor.
He's allowed in the Azor?
Yeah. What the Pnei Moshe says is that one Shabbos is mutter and avoida, it's mutter, even for a Zor. So he's just also on him because of Zorus. Well, I don't like that, but that's what he says. And the other thing that he says about Tumah is talking about case for Tumah Hutra B'tzibur. So it's Tumah Hutra B'tzibur, so the only problem is that he's about Mum, but not the Tomei. But now here the Tuv Yerushalmi brings in that from Yud Chesam and Beis. Look at Yud Chesam and Beis again, 3, 6, 7 lines to the bottom. It's going on. Bar Kapara said you only chayav one, so he says the Ma Rabbi Avo b'shem Rabbi Yochanan leis kan chayav shtayim. You're not chayav two. How according to Bar Kapara el ma'ilov kilu as chayav shtayim. But you consider as if he transgressed two. So who cares if you consider him as if he transgressed two or not? You'll hurry ask a question. So the Korban Eidah says where you bury him. There's a section in the cemetery for Rishonim. I'm not kidding you. The Korban Eidah says this here. The section cemetery for Rishonim, and then there's a section cemetery for the Rishonim Gemurim. That's where you have the biggest monuments. So he says, so this guy, you bury him in the section of Rishonim Gemurim. Okay, that's the nafkamina. We consider him a Rasha Gomer, not Stam a Rasha. Okay, getting back to the Gemara over here in the New Testament Alpha again. Meisi bar kapar Rabbi Chia Rub.
I'm curious, I don't want to beat her to death, but the Shemesh must be Shechita, because otherwise what kind of...
No, Gemara is going to Chapnish. Gemara is going to discuss that. Okay. Meisi bar kapar Rabbi Chia Ruba, Rabbi bar kapara asked Rabbi Chia the Great, Avoida shakoyin muter ba zar mechayev aleha. And avoida which a kohen is muter to do. Because it's Shabbos is huter ba avoida, right? The zor is going to be mechayev on it. What's its mutter, right? Came with utra. Most of law, who Messiah law. He asked the Kash and he answered himself. It's not true. When you see that there's a dichotomy, something can be mutter quantum and also lazarim. Many cases, as a matter of fact. For a kmitza, for example, a mincha before kmitza. Before you do kmitza, before you take the pit off the mincha for the mizbeach, so it's also both for the kohen and for the zor, right? Mishanik matzah, once you did the kmitza, asur lezorim muteres l'kohanim. It still remains also to the zorim, even though it's muter the kohanim. So we see that in many cases, there's a case in which something can be muter for kohanim and also for zorim. Shabbos also. Maybe it's muter only for kohanim to the avodah, not for the zorim. So that's why you're chayiv too. Okay? Amalei. So he said, the truth is, I'm not sure who said this to whom, but one of them said the other one, yeah, but you can't bring a riot for there. Because by there it says explicitly that a zor cannot eat kodesh, which means even after you brought the kmitza, there it's a special case that remains also for a zor afterwards, but could be by Shabbos, so it doesn't have such a pasuk that once it became mutter for the avodah, became mutter for the avodah even for zorim. Malika, well, maybe I'll look at Malika. Before you do Malika on the bird, it's also both for a Kohen and Yisrael. Well, Mishamim Laka, once you did Malika, Asur Lazarim Umuteres the Kohanim, it still remains also Lazarim, but it's Mutter the Kohanim. So we see that there's a dichotomy, right? Could be Shabbos the same dichotomy. So again, he said, Shani.
Malika is not deemed to be a shechita for zarim. Is that what they're trying for?
No, it's not. A chatas, a bird, a chatas, a oaf. Even after Malika, is also lazarim. It's only mutter for kohanim. When did you join us in the Bavli?
Obviously, too late.
Okay. Amalei Shani Yidichsi v'chol zar lo yochal kodesh. That's it because it says also chol zar lo yochal kodesh. Again, achilo could be different because we have an explicit dichotomy in the Chumash itself between zarim and kohanim. Hare tevel. Okay, let's talk about tevel, right? Stuff which has not been tithed. Before it's tight, it's also for both. Mishnika, once it's tight, also it's also for the truma. It's also to Yisrael, but it's mutar l'kohen.
But you can't do that on Shabbos.
What?
You can't.
Anyway, the Gemara gives the same answer though. We're going on the eating afterwards, not on the act of hafrosha. So they said, you know what? Let's go out and check out and see what we can find about it. So let's do some research. Nafkum Shama, they went out. I don't know exactly where they went out, but they went in there. It's talking about Chlokas Tanoim. Rabbi Yossi Meshtaim, Rabbi Yossi says the Zor did avodah on Shabbos, or about Mumu did avodah betuma. Rabbi Yossi says you get him twice. Rabbi Shimon Marachas, Ma'ad Marachas, Mishum Zorus. Okay, the one there says you get him at one. That's because of Zorus. Because Shabbos he says is mutter. Ma'ad Mishum Meshtaim. Okay, what about the man number says two? Akal Shum Zorus. The first prohibition is Zorus, but the other one of Shabbos Lama. What does that come on? What is the Zor doing, which is the other malacha? Mishum Shchita, maybe say he's doing Shchita. Hare Shchita Kshera, but Zor Kshera. A Zor can check the korban on Shabbos. He's allowed to, because the Shchita is the part of the korban which the Zor can do. So that can't be it. What Hare El Mishum Hiluch Zrika v'Kabbalah? It should be really Kabbalah, Hiluch, and Zrika. It's not in order. Maybe it's because he receives the blood, transports it, and sprinkles it. At best, ain't el shvus. At best, can be issa d'Rabbanan of carrying. I mean, maybe, but it's certainly not issa d'Oraisa. Have a lace time? Well, you know what the reason is. I'll tell you. This is what it is. It's right back case of the Zor el mishum equal evorim pedorim, where he tossed the limbs and fats on the mizbeach. Shirim misachlin out the murim, whatever it is. So I don't know why evorim pedorim it says here. Maybe what it says evorim pedorim? It could have said the murim. Could have said the primary parts of the korban. I don't know why I picked the evorim pedorim. Those are the excess limbs and fats. I don't know why. But anyway, the bottom line is he tossed stuff on the mizbeach. He tossed on the mizbeach, and that's all only kohanim are allowed to do, even though it's not one of the four avodas, which are essential for the kashrus of the korban. Only kohanim can do that, right? Which would be consuming the mizbeach all night. You know what? That's fine. If you hold it, there's in this case, he going back to the previous Gemara, he's mavir his mevashel, right? He's mavir mevashel, right? Because he's throwing something on the mizbeach and it's going to get consumed by fire. So according to Rabbi Yehuda says you're going to get because you can be mechai because of mavir. Fine. So here's mavir. He's causing this to take fire. I'll take to Rabbi Yehuda do arm mishum mevashel. But going to Rabbi Yehuda said the chayiv and had such an activity because the bishul. My bishul yeshkam. What's he cooking? What's cooking? For who?
For the mizbeach.
Who's the mizbeach? Oh, so I think that's what the Gemara answers. Became who wrote to be kulon. The Gemara says since he wants them to be consumed by the mizbeach, kimavashul, that's like bishul. But you know what I think Shehu is? I think Shehu is going on Hashem. In other words, Achila Mizbeach is like the Achila of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We've had that.
Right. We have it in Bavli. So that I think is what it means here, like you said. Okay. So you're chayiv. So the bottom line is, what are you chayiv to on? On tossing the stuff on the mizbeach. That a zor should not allowed to do it. B not allowed to do it on Shabbos because it's either mavir or mavashel. Okay.
Which means that the definition is mavashel is that somebody has to intend to consume it.
Right. It has to be intended. No, you have to intend it for consumption.
Okay.
Yeah.
For consumption.
Right. Okay. Not such a big chiddush.
No, it just
scale of 1 to 10. It's only like a 2.
It seems like unnecessary. Like just visuals, the act of cooking of food.
It has to be purposeful. Otherwise, it's not. It's not l'tzor. It's not tzor gufa. It's not melacha shein tzor gufa. Okay? Says the Mishnah further. Al shlosh averos noshim meitzos b'shas lidasim. 3 averos women died at the time that they give birth. Al shein ziras benida v'chava lokas hanerev. They're not careful about neither challah or lighting candles on Erev Shabbos.
Excuse me, is that it on Havara, or are we going to come back to it?
Akira, yeah, sure, Akira. We're gonna. I mean, I don't know if it's Havara or Mavashal, but next parak. Okay. Tani. There's some who learn that the Gerus Mishnah is Yolodos. As 3 Averis, women die when they are young. Tani Yoldos, or as the saying means when they give birth. Madam Yolodos, he says it's when they're young. Time Shem Rabbi Yehuda is learned name Rabbi Yehuda, but often on a Dorim Bani Mason. There is a culpability even on children. In other words, women are culpable even they're minors. There is such a thing, because we see in the Avera of Nedarim, children die. Right? Now there, it happens to talk about the Nedarim or the parents. But the bottom line is that children die for Averas, even though they're not yet B'nai Mitzvah. So to here, it could be Yulados. They die Yulados. Okay? My taimo, what Pasuk teaches us this? La shavi kesi b'nechem. For shav, meaning for frivolous chatter, Nedarim, right? Nidrei shav. That's why it's my your kids. Madam Ayoldos, he says they die when they're giving birth. Mikan, from here we say, you should see that a sot, the sot only prosecutes the individual at the time of danger. Now I'm going to bring a whole bunch of proofs like that. Rabbi said, Stephen says, it says Yoshua should stand before Lazar, and ask from him through the Urim V'Tumim what to do. Beseder Urim Enksiv, it doesn't say in the order of the Urim, how the letters are illuminated. Ela b'mishpat Urim, by the judgment of the Urim. What does judgment mean? El malamed shebishah she'yisrael yetzim milchama. When Am Yisrael goes out to war, Beis Shamal yeshvin aleim. The Beis Shamal sits a judgment upon them in mishpat. Im lintzach, if to be victorious. Im linatzach, it to be vanquished. Amr Chiyabah says, Ksiv, it says in the pasuk, Ki teitze machna levecha, when you go out and make a camp against your enemies, v'nishmarta mikol davara, you should be careful from anything bad. Sounds like koimeno yotze, if you're not going out to camp in a war situation, enu tzarech leishmir, you don't have to watch yourself. Why not? Ella mikan, must you learn from here? Sheina sotan mekatrek ella b'shas sakana. The sotan only prosecutes to a greater extent, obviously at the time of danger, and therefore you have to be particularly meticulous about watching yourself at a time of warfare.
No atheists in the foxhole.
Rabbi Yachoy, there was no innocence in the foxhole. Everybody's judged. Rabbi Yachoy bar Yaakov. See, it says famous Gemara. It says that Hashem said, Yaakov said, I don't want to give you Binyamin, right? Because maybe some catastrophe will happen on the way. Or Babayis, what? No catastrophe can happen at home. Here we see that the Satan is particularly active at a time of danger. Right? Stephen says, Yom Tzora v'Tochecha, a day of pain and rebuke, v'Natzah, and anguish is that day. Now, this is a pasuk where Yeshaya. So the Korban brings down. They both bring down that this is talking about the day of birth. Okay, day of birth, the day of anguish and pain and rebuke. So Yom Acher Lo, what? No other days the day of pain. The danger, since it's the day of birth, so therefore it's the day of danger. That's why the Sultan is Mekatre, and it's a particularly disadvantageous day. Rabbi Avi Bar Nagre said, Kasif. This is a very difficult line to translate. Nobody has any idea what's flying here. Not the Pnei Moshe, not the Korban, not the Mashbiach, who doesn't speak about it, and not me. But there's a pasuk in Tehillim. It says, "B'shofto yetze Rasha." Now the full pasuk is David is praying to Hashem to smite down his enemies. It says, "Hafkedo love Rasha." Station against him an evildoer. The Satan Yamna made the Satan stand on his right hand man's side of this guy who my enemy. Then the next verse says, "B'shofto yetze resh Rasha." When he's judged, there should go out evil. And his prayer should miss the mark. Okay? Now we're picking up on the second pasuk, which says Bishafto Yetze Rasha, right? So says the Gemara, Rabbi Ivan Agrixib, it says Bishafto Yetze Rasha. Yetze Tzadik Enksiv Kan. Doesn't say that Tzadik should go out. El Bishafto Yetze Rasha. Now, if Yetze Tzadik would mean, I'm just going to give you a possible shot, a carbonate shot, but it's not glad. Says, why does David Melch not say, when the judgment takes place, let the defense attorney, the tzaddik, leave the room? Bishafto Yetze Tzadik. Let the tzaddik go leave the room. So wasn't Yishavto Yetze Rosh? It sounds like he wants the prosecuting attorney to leave the room. On the contrary, right? Yotze Tzadik is kind of Bishafto Yetze Rosh. So as far as the Kerminator, what it means is that let the Russia take full force. Yetze means shouldn't leave the room, but means that he should go out and smite the guy down dead. So we see here that a Shasakara, Bishafto, then the Russia has particular grip over this sinning individual. Amrabi Bobarkina. Neser shumatuach migag lagag, when you have a beam going from roof to roof, afilu rachav kam, even if it's very wide, also halich olav, you shouldn't walk upon it. Lama she'e elamikan she'ein asot mekachka b'shasakara, because it's a danger, because the sultan is around and might make the beam fall or you off the beam. Rava Mara yeshiv b'bayis meruah, person who sits in a crumbling house. He makes the Malach HaMavis his creditor. Right? In other words, Malach HaMavis might come after him because he's in a precarious situation. The Chsiv says, Yasi Mavis Olemo. He will bear death against him, or against your friend. So to here means the Satan Yasi Lechara. The Satan has a lien against you. Amrai Levi. Rabbi Levi said, B'shleishim Mekoymes HaSotan Motzu the Katve, in 3 places the Satan prosecutes. It's prevalent that he prosecutes. Hamahalik B'derech B'atzmo, against somebody who walks on a pathway by himself. Vayosher B'ais Ofel Atzmo, when somebody sleeps in a dark house by himself. Remember the Bible said the other day, a light is good enough? Right? Here it is. This is where it's from. B'ais Ofel. Okay. Well, that's kind of like Rob just said, right? Yosher B'Bais Brua, the same idea. V'amafarish b'amagodon, somebody who goes out to the great sea. Rabbi Yitzchak about Miriam. Rabbi Yitzchak Miriam said, Ilulei T'chsiv, were not to have said, Koyamar Hashem, so says God, Hanayis B'yam Derech, who places in the seas a pathway. If that were not to have had that pasuk, whenever a person goes down to see he would die. For Rabbanan dash the pasuk like this. It says, derech. You're all familiar with this pasuk from which Mishaberach is for the Zionists among us. Where is this pasuk? Up here? Aren't you a card carrying member of the RZC?
It's for the Chayoli.
Very good. Okay, so
I'm also a card carrying.
What?
I'm also a card carrying Zionist.
Okay, you're mad. All right. Yeah, but you don't remember the RZC, are you? He is. Not even you? All right, it's a left Zionist. All right, it's a Maria. This says, sorry, next one. Rabbi Yam Derech. They dash like this. It says he puts it in the Yam a Derech. A Derech is like a broad pathway. That's Minatzeret Sadachak from Shavuos until Sukkot. That's the ideal time to go sailing. But Mayim Azim Nesiva in powerful waters, a Nesiva, which is a small path. A derech is a wide path, and a sieve is like a small path. Minachag bar Chanukah, that's from Sukkot to Chanukah. Because then the rainy season starts getting stormy. Then it's already a little dangerous. The rest of the year, of course, can't go boating.
So that's where the Titanic sunk. Went before
Pesach. That's right. Rabbi Yossi Rei Rabbi Tanchum, the Kfar Anin. He said, Uvda Havia Ba'asya. This is a Maisa, but it's a pre-Hasidic Maisa, so it doesn't have a good ending. Uvda Havia Ba'asya. The way that Kormeir explains it, there's a Maisa in Asya, which is a place, that Acha, a fellow by the name of Acha, boy Mifresh, wanted to sail. There's another pshat, which is the Pnei Moshe's, Uvda Havia Ba'asya. There's a Maisa chapter with a doctor. Ba'asya, a doctor. Acha, what does he say about Acha? He doesn't translate Acha, but Asya can also mean doctor. But anyway, boy Mifresh min Chag Chanukah. So he wanted to take a boat from Sukkot until Chanukah. In other words, during that questionable period. So a certain older lady saw him, a noble lady saw him. So she said to him, Kidon mafrishin. At this time when it goes out to sea, it's dangerous. His father appeared to him in a dream. Said, a burial place you won't have, because you'll die, you'll be lost at sea. He didn't listen not to this one, not to that one. When he went out sailing, and that was the end of it. And he was never heard from again. Okay? Rabbi Akoin, Numaisa. Rabbi Akoin, Achoy de Rabbi Chia Barboa, have a part she wanted to set sail. Asa boy Mifresh min Chag and Chanukah. So he wanted to sail between Sukkot and Chanukah. Amar Lachoy, so he said to his brother, Tzalei Olai, daven for me. Amar Le'in Ditzlaisi Olach. All right, fine, I'll daven for you. Elo, however, in Chamisun L'Tzibur Metzali in the Mitra, if you see the community davening for rain, Lo titrachetz al slow seat, do not rely on my davening, because I'm just a yochi davening for your welfare, and you have a whole tzibur davening for rain, and davening for rain will provoke storms, and that'll be the end of you. Hadat kata lulavach. Let me give you an eitzah. When you tie your lulav, k'tor raglucha, tie up your feet. In other words, and don't go down to sea. So it's interesting. The way the Korban Eid explains it, he says that when you tie your lulav erev Yontif, that's it. That's the sailing season over. Right. Right before Yontif. There's a perushi on the bottom of this Gemara, not in the bottom of yours. Maram di Lunzano says. If he says, let's take a look. After Yontif, they used to tie up their lulavim. And he says that the Chidah, he brings down the Chidah that he says that the elder rabbis keep their Arba Minim the entire year. And they say that it helps for Shmira. Right? It helps to safeguard. In other words, you don't throw out your lulav from sukkahs to sukkahs. It's a school to be safe. I thought it was just lazy. I didn't know this, but now I see that this is I've been kind of this chidah many times. But here too he says that it means when you tie your lulav to put it away after sukkahs, that's the time when not to travel anymore. So it's a practical skula. You know, the tied up lulav remind you not to set sail. Okay? So they die because they're not careful with nida chalad lokasaner. These three mitzvahs, why are they given to read? Adam was the life force of the world. Like blood is the life force, ki adam wa nefesh. So to Adam was life force of the world. So you see it says ve'ed yalem in oretz. It says evaporation, water vapor coming from the land to cause rain to happen. So the rest of the pasuk says that this would not happen until Adam was created, because Adam ayin lavadus adama. Before Adam came to the scene, the natural cycle of nature didn't take effect. So we see that man is the life force of the world. Okay, so Chava caused him death. That's they gave a mitzvah to do with blood to women. Nida. Why they get the mitzvah chala? He was the chala of the world. How so? So Hashem, in order to make Adam, he kneaded the dirt with water to make Adam's clay. And that's like the mitzvah challah, right? The kneading of the dough. The see it says, "Vayitza Hashem Elokim es Adam, ofar min Adama." The V'taya Kain, that's going like Rabbi Yossi Bar Katzarta, who says, Kevan Traisha Mikashkeshes Yisas B'mayim. Once a woman mixes her dough with water, right? So then he makbas closer takes the b'chala so to bite him Rishon. It took off he was the challah of the world.
Is it also because the Eitzadas, some people say it's the wheat tree? Didn't you have Tzaddik say that?
That's why matzah. He says matzah, not a challah.
Oh.
The matzah is a kapara for that, but not but not for this one. But it's nice to show. But he doesn't say it. It's nice to show this. For Garmin Lochavim, he said she caused death of Hicha. Most of mitzvahs chalisha. That's why they gave the woman the mitzvah of challah. For Adlokas Anel. He was the candle of the world. Shemar says, Ner Lokim Nishmas Adam. The candle of God was in the Sham of Adam. The Garmin Lochava Misa. Chava gave him, caused him death. That's why they gave him the mitzvah of Adlokas Haner. Tani Rabbi Yetzer Omer, Shlosha Divkei Misoheim. There are 3 mitzvahs which can bring death to you. The Shlosha Nimsru L'Isha, and they're all given to a woman. And they say, mitzvahs Nida, mitzvahs Chala, mitzvahs Adloka. The 3 mentioned here. Okay? Shlosha Dvarim Tzorach Adam Loimar B'Sorach Beit. What? What?
Doesn't it say that, Aman Yarichu?
No, but it doesn't say the opposite. These are the inclination. Right, but here the implication is that I think the specific issue doesn't say that. I don't know. Could be. I don't know why they say. The other Kibbutz Avein doesn't fit into the theme.
They're like kaparas for the woman.
Yeah.
For your sins.
Right. The 3 things the person say when he gets home Erev Shabbos, when he's home Erev Shabbos just before nightfall. He start them, should take meisers off what needs to be meiser. A raftim should make the verse a reuven which had to be made. Haliko saner, light the candles. Safek chashecha, safek ene chashecha. If it's a question whether it's dark or not, a masiris of adai, so you can't meiser, which requires meiser doraisa. Ve definitely meiser. Vein matbim is okay. Minala to toiv of kalim. Vein malikas is not allowed to light candles. It's way too late because these are all malachos and Shabbos. Ava masiris adai, but you're allowed to take meiser off of the mic because that's only the rabbanon. Umarvini could make an eruv still because it's only the rabbanon. V'tomin is a chamin. You can put the chulent into blankets, even if it's a dover. No, if it's a dover sheina mostly fevel. You can put it into blankets, even if it's already after shkia, as long as it's bein hashmashos. Tana Rishon Gamliel Omer Hilchos HaKodesh. Now, according to Mashbiach is a very nice pshat here. He says this is all part of a question. You'll see it's going to lead up a question. Tana Rishon Gamliel Omer Hilchos HaKodesh. The halachos of Kodesh. What's considered to be kodesh or not? Chatos, what's considered to be good for paraduma or not? Ve'achsher, so whether something has become moist and therefore suitable to be a kabel tuma. Hein and gufi halachos, these are substantial halachos in Klal Yisrael. Ushloshim misu l'amiratz, and all of them were given over to Amaratzim. In other words, they believe Amaratzim in these 3 areas. Halachos HaKodesh, by kodesh, we learn, Imam Rafirashi b'tocha reviz kodesh neman. Now, Amoritz is not believed to say he kept his truma tohar. But if he said in this barrel, besides the truma, he put in a measure of kodesh, meaning wine for nesachim or something, so then he's believed to say everything is tohar. Because they made a special din that by kodesh, Amoritz is believed. Not by truma, but by kodesh, yes. Okay? Chatos, by poraduma stuff, the thing that says I call them anim chatos. Everybody believes that called poraduma, which is called the chatos. Hechsheros, that something was mushur kabel tumor or not, the thing we learned in Masechta Machshirin, kol ne'monim, amartz ne'monim lomar, v'alkula amartz ne'monim lomar torinim. And all these things amartz is believed to say they're Torah. Now the Mashbiach says, so what's this question? Why is it brought down? The other question is brought down to show that we believe women just like we believe Amaratzim. They're no worse than Amoritz. But the Mashbiach says the kasha. Mashbiach says kasha is, if you believe in Amoritz on this, why Koshkin, you should believe your own wife on it. Why do you have to ask? Right? If you believe Amaratzim on my, so certainly you should believe your wife. Right? Why do you have to ask your wife these questions? Says, well, it's certainly on Shabbos, you should believe your wife. So the answer is, Lord Surcha the law el yaliku saner. It says according to Mashbiach, the way to read this is no da ella, right? Lord Surcha da ella yaliku saner. You don't have to ask her. You assume that she did it properly. You tell her yaliku saner, right? It's an informative as opposed to inquisitive. You don't have to query her. You can assume she did it right, whatever she's supposed to do. It's worthwhile always reminding people. It's not a question of trustworthiness, but a question of reminding. That's why it says, not he'd locked him a saner, just says aliku a saner. You can trust her for Shabbos that she did it properly. You don't have to ask her, just give her a little reminder. Now, Isartem Raftem Adliku. By the way, the way the other Mefarshim explain it, they say it's a kasha. They say lotzur chada elu hadliku saner means you should ask her first. Hadliku saner should say before you start say sartim eraftim hadliku saner. Should say first hadliku saner because hadliku saner is a raisa, right? Because Shabbos Yisartim and eraftim are the rabbanats. But I don't understand that kasha. Because, of course, you're going to say Adliko Saner last. Why? Because Adliko Saner is Kabbalah Shabbos, right? So she wants to take Meiser and then do Eruv. You want to do it before Adliko Saner. So that's why I like the Mashbiach's Malach, which is that this is the answer. That you don't ask, you just tell her, you just reminded me Malika Saner. Now then the Gemara comes along and says, Isartem Eravtem Adliku, right? So according to the either this is just a header, we're just quoting from the Mishnah, or we're saying that the Isartem Eravtem Adliku, that the order is specific, as I just mentioned, that first you ask a Maisus, then you ask an Erev, and then you ask an Adliku. Now, based on this, let's assume it's a header, though, right? There's a header, Isartem Eravtem Adliku, it's a quote from the Mishnah. Now we have a Machlokus, and again, this is my chiddush, the next case, which nobody else says, not the Pnei Moshe, not the Korban Eidah, but I like what I'm about to say. Amar Reb Rabba, mitoch sheta machmir alav bekala, afu machmir atzma b'chamura. According to the other Mefarshim, what it means is Reb Rabba is coming to answer the question. He's going to say, why do you say Isartem Eravtem and then Adliku? Should we say Adliku first? Because if you're makbid, if you teach her to be makbid on the easy stuff, which is Isartem Eravtem, so she'll also be makbid on the chomer stuff on Adliku. So you want to teach her like Musar. Be makbid on the easy stuff, certainly should be makbid on the hard stuff. But okay, this would be an answer to the previous question, why we say first Isartem Eravtem and only afterwards Adliku. But again, I'm not learning that way. I'm learning like the Mashbiach, and therefore, Isartem Eravtem Adliku is just a header or an opening statement. And Rabbi Chia is making an independent statement. He's saying, why do you mention Meiser and Eruv at all? Because L'choira, you could do them even on Shabbos. We just say you do it Bein HaShmashos, right? So if she didn't do it, they shkefela. You do it yourself after Chashecha. Why bother mentioning them? And that he says, no, it's kedai to ask her. You want her to do it before she lights candles. Why? A musar. If you're machmir to do meiser and eruv before you light candles, you make sure to even medactic and make sure everything gets done before you light candles properly. And this argues in the next Gemara. Because I'm Rab Chagai, Rab Shmuel, Rab Yitzchak, have a mafki go base. When he would command in this house, he'd say, "Iravtem adliku saner." He would say, "Did you make eruv? Did you light the candles?" But he wouldn't ask about maisrus. Then why did they ask about maisrus? So according to most of the Mefarshim here, it means is that everything he ate was demai. Since it was D'mai, he held you could do it on Shabbos, right? You can be mafresh on Shabbos. At least Bein HaShmashos, right? But that even perhaps on Shabbos, the Mefarshim down here. So therefore, he held, I don't have to ask about Maisrus. So here it's a machlokes between Rabbi Chia Barabba and Rabbi Chagai, right? Rabbi Chia Barabba said, no, He had to be makbid even to do the things which might be mutter on Shabbos. So it should be meiser to might be makbid to ask for him before Shabbos begins. Not like Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yitzchak, who wouldn't ask about the kalos and would leave them perhaps he done on Shabbos, and he wouldn't ask about meiser from before Shabbos. Okay, so he was a question as to proper mode of conduct l'chatchila, whether you have to try and do everything before Shabbos. Okay, savik chashecha, savik ena chashecha. If it's savik chashecha, savik not chashecha. Ma'aser bei Rabbi Lezer, the Ma'aser in the house of Rabbi Lezer, Shaya Geisis Erev Shabbos, he was dying Erev Shabbos im chashecha. Menichnas Hurkanus b'no la'achlotzes tefillah. So Hurkanus, his son, came in to take out his tefillin. Amar lo, so he said to Beni, he knocked the mitzvah saner. You left the mitzvah of adlokas saner. Now the next question, the next line, she shvus, is very difficult. I mean, sure, it's a deraisa to light the candles, so it's not clear what it means. She shvus. All right, it seems like either it's a typo and it shouldn't be here, or he says here, Pnei Moshe says that now it's only a shvus, but later it might be a doraisa. But it's difficult, right? I would say mitzvah say now. I would just take out the word she shvus. He knocked the mitzvah in there shechayovin of kores, right? If you light on yotiv on Shabbos chayav kores ubasa lachlot tefillin, and you want to take out my tefillin shein el rishus. First of all, take out tefillin before Shabbos. It's only rishus. You can leave it tefillin on Shabbos. Ve'ein el mitzvah. And maybe it's a mitzvah to take out tefillin before Shabbos, but it's certainly not chayiv to take out before Shabbos. Yotzulo. So Hurkanus went out and he was upset. Vayatzoyik Varim is saying, "Whoa, Abba's insane. He's telling me not to take out his tefillin." Amar Loser, the father said, Rabbi Loser says, "You're insane. I'm not. I'm perfectly sane. What I said makes perfect sense." Truth is, he's right? Came a true Talmid of Sheishiva and Dover Shechachma. Once the Talmidim saw that he was saying good things and making sense, right? Of course, it's still logic. So Nichnasu Etzel, they came in and started asking shilos. For you Sholino, so they asked him shilos. For your Ameloy now Tome about Torah. He told him this is Tome, this is Torah. About the last shilos they asked him, Omar Torah. He said Torah. The Nistalka the Shmos on that he's died. Omrin, they said Nika Rebbe Shu Torah. Rebbe is clearly Torah. All right, Modavar could do Nikor. It was Nikor before. Maybe less Nikor is always Torah, but it's a great, even greater simon that he died when saying the word Torah. Nichlas Rabbi Shua v'cholatz his tefillah. After he died, Rabbi Shua came in and took his tefillah. And he was embracing his corpse. Umenashko and kissed him. Ubocha and crying. Varmi said, Rebbe, Hutzar Neder. Rebbe, the Neder, obviously the Chayim, which Rabbi Lezman was in before I was alive, is over. And Rebbe, Rechav Yisrael Parasha, Rebbe, the chariot of Israel and its horsemen.
Because what it doesn't mention here is that the Talmidim were at a distance.
They were distant before what's mentioned in the Bavli, but not here.